Human beings are hardwired for speech. Our brains evolved to pick up spoken language effortlessly, simply by being exposed to it. But reading is an entirely artificial technology. We have to manually train our brains to translate visual symbols into spoken sounds. This chart shows the total student population compared to those who struggle to read. Up to 20% of children face significant difficulties with reading. When you look specifically at students classified with learning disabilities, a striking 79% of them have a specific disability related to reading. For decades, educators have been caught in what are called the reading wars. On one side, policy advocates push for intense, repetitive phonics drills starting in kindergarten. On the other side, proponents argue for natural language immersion, surrounding kids with books and hoping they absorb the skill organically. Solving the reading crisis requires moving past these two extremes. We need to teach children how to recognize the hidden, nested architecture of sound that makes up our language. This diagram shows language awareness as a three-layered structure. The outermost shell is metalinguistic awareness, the middle layer is phonological awareness, and the innermost core is phonemic awareness. Often, aggressive educational mandates drive a harsh line straight through those outer contextual layers. They force young children to focus entirely on that innermost phonemic core before they understand the broader context of language. Drilling microscopic sounds before a child even understands the purpose of a printed book causes what researchers call cognitive confusion. This is a psychological state where the learning process breaks down because the child has no mental framework for why they are making these isolated noises. To build a fluent reader, you have to move sequentially. A child must be guided from the large macrostructure of print down into the microstructure of sound. That journey begins in the outermost metalinguistic layer. This is the logographic stage, where a child learns the basic concept that symbols on a page or logos on a store sign actually carry meaning. In the phonological layer, children hear macro sounds, breaking spoken language into large chunks, like syllables. These syllables break down further into an onset and a rhyme. The onset is the beginning consonant, like k in cat, and the rhyme follows it, like at. At this stage, children do not need standardized testing. Teachers use playful sound exploration, rhyming games, and shared storybook reading to help students recognize these patterns naturally. You will often see children physically clapping out a rhythm. This physical, active movement helps their brains map the separation of those larger sound chunks. Grasping these large macro sound chunks is a strict prerequisite. A child's brain must map these broader rhythms before it can process individual letters. At the center is phonemic awareness, mastering phonemes, the 44 smallest units of sound in English. Here, children learn segmenting, pulling a spoken word apart into its base phonemes. Then comes blending, pushing those isolated sounds back together to read the word. Educators approach this in two main ways. Synthetic phonics involves volving words from these tiny individual parts up to a whole. Analytic phonics focuses on breaking a whole word down into its smaller components. Whichever method is used, true phonemic awareness is strictly a mechanical manipulation of microscopic pieces. And that mechanism only functions if the larger macro layers of language are already firmly in place. One of the most effective classroom strategies for developing this micro-layer awareness is known as invented spelling. Invented spelling is a child's independent attempt to figure out words when they write, often resulting in phonetic spellings like KAML for camel. Research proves that encouraging children to write with these phonetic approximations actually accelerates their reading ability. The act of inventing a spelling forces the child's brain to actively practice segmenting sounds in real time. They have to listen to themselves speak, isolate every phoneme, and match it to a letter. Because of this, a child's phonetic errors provide a real-time, highly accurate map of their phonemic awareness. This makes it a far superior, less stressful diagnostic tool compared to formal standardized testing. Using tools like invented spelling, educators must identify struggling readers early. By the middle of first grade, teachers need to know exactly who requires additional support. For these specific students, the required intervention is highly targeted. Teachers work in small group sessions focusing entirely on the physical elongation of individual sounds. Using concrete physical objects like elastic bands or blocks is essential during these sessions. It gives young brains a visual and tactile anchor for what is otherwise a completely abstract phonetic concept. Early targeted interventions based on careful diagnostic observation prevent the fourth-grade slump, the point where reading comprehension often collapses. This targeted approach is far more effective than applying universal rote phonic drills to every student. When we zoom all the way back out, the complete, fully assembled, nested architecture of language finally reveals itself. Phonemic awareness acts as an essential mechanical gear at the very center of this cognitive machine. This gear requires constant lubrication from the oil of meaning, context, and a rich linguistic environment to keep the entire system in motion. Ultimately, mastering the hidden architecture of sound empowers a human being to fully comprehend and navigate their world.